guys, today we're taking a look at a Fotron camera. Came in this wonderful leather case. Inside we have all kinds of goodies. First, of course, we have the camera. But also came with the power cord. You have to plug this in and charge it up. Came with a empty cartridge, or one that's been exposed and not sent in, we can't tell. It came with a new cartridge inside the box with the which you could send in to get it developed. Cleverly packaged is a cartridge that hasn't been exposed, or I believe it hasn't. I can't tell the difference by looking at the end whether it's been exposed or is unexposed. And last but not least in the box was a letter that the previous owner got from the Triad Corporation telling him that he overpaid 70 cents, and here's a credit for 70 cents if he reorders film the next time he sends some in. So let's take a look at this beast. This is probably, arguably, the worst camera ever made. I bought this at an antique store for $39. When they were new, they cost $140 in 1962. 1 year later, this was the original one, the gray one. 1 year later, they changed the color to black, stopped selling them in stores, and changed to only door-to-door salesmen selling them. That increased the price significantly. In fact, the salesman commission was $150 or $170, something like that. And they typically sold for several $100s. By 1971, they were selling for $520. The value on eBay for one like this is about what I paid, $39. This one, I believe, is in good condition. Some say this is the worst camera ever made. Others are only concerned with the sales scam and overpricing. These were made from 1962 to 1971. It's debatable how many were sold, but the class action lawsuits claimed 100,000 plus were sold. And they were targeted by door-to-door salesmen, mostly to housewives. And you can tell that in their brochures and sales techniques. They used aggressive direct selling techniques, regarded as a scam. And I have some copies of the lawsuit that the claimants claimed in the 1972 lawsuit that the sale price of $491.66 was a little high because the value of the camera was $40. The salesman commission was $175. Adjusted for inflation, that would have been $1,400 per sale. Enough at the time for a salesman to live comfortably if he sold one a week. So this takes Kodak 828 film that's loaded into special cartridges. It has a 57mm f4.5 lens. There's only one shutter speed, 1/160th of a second, and there are 3 focus zones from 4 to 5 feet, 6 to 8 feet, and 9 to 12 feet. And it weighs 2.5 pounds. The positive features are it has a built-in electronic flash, it has a built-in motor drive, it has drop-in film loading, 10 exposures to a pack with 1 inch by 1 inch negatives. It's push-button exposure and focus controls. It has an integrated rechargeable NiCad battery which can power up to 4 rolls of film, in other words 40 pictures, which the flash is powered by a large capacitor, and it's charged with a standard 120 volt outlet. The negative features are it's extremely expensive. When these were sold, for the same price you could have bought a Nikon FM2 or a Leica M3 with a lens. They're unwieldy, they're of poor optical quality, and the only way you can buy and develop the film is by the specific vendor Triad. It's locked into their film processing. Now let's look at the camera front. We have an optical viewfinder, an electronic flash. It takes 1/1000th of a second, 30 watt second, 25-degree angle with an 8-second recycle time. It has a lens opening with a grill around it, and the grill, there's apparently 2 lights behind it that will flash 5 times when you first turn it on, showing you that the battery and the flash unit is charged up. Let's take a look at the camera top. So that's our pictures remaining counter. The original Fotron 1, this one, it's here on the next model, the Fotron 2. It was moved slightly, and finally on the Fotron 3, they changed the 3 buttons on the right for focusing to 2 buttons to make it simpler. This is the off button. It's pressed right now, which saves the battery charge. If you took a picture, you'd press the outdoor or the indoor button and then press medium, far, or close, and that would take the picture. Whenever you press these, then the off button pops up. So if we selected outdoors, that also then turns the camera on, and then if we push the far button, it would actually take a picture. And pressing the button also sets the focus distance and the aperture. And I'll show you a close-up so you can see these settings here if you can't see them. So if you push the outdoor button, then the far setting is sunny and hazy beyond 6 feet. The medium button is cloudy and shady, 6 to 10 feet, and the close button is sunny and cloudy, 3 to 6 feet. Now this only makes sense when you consider that the flash always fires. So that's their way of explaining it to the non-technical person who they're selling this to. If you press the indoor button, then the far setting is 8 to 12 feet, the medium setting is 5 to 7 feet, and the close setting is 3 to 4 feet. And again, remember, the flash always fires and the shutter speed is always 1/60th of a second. So all you're changing on these 3 buttons at most is the aperture and the actual lens focus distance. So for instance, if you select outdoors and you press the far button, you're selecting f10.5, the smallest aperture. If you select the medium button, you're selecting f5.6. And if you select the close button, you're selecting the smallest aperture again, f10.5. If you switch to indoor mode, then when you press the far button, you're selecting the widest aperture, f4.5. Medium distance will set the medium aperture, f5.6. And finally, the closest distance will set the smallest aperture at f10.5. And you don't get any choices. That's all there is. On the camera back, first we have this crappy viewfinder. When you look through the viewfinder, there's a square frame, and then there's a frame within the frame which you're supposed to use to anticipate movement of the subject. The outside of the viewfinder is the actual picture coverage area. And this is the infamous snap-in magazine. To remove one, you push these little levers to the side and you can take it out. Now they use Kodak 828 film, which is pre-wound in here and modified to fit in this cartridge. And nobody, I've looked on the web, nobody's actually attempted to try and do that by manually loading one and using it that I know of. To insert it, you just set it over the hole, press these little clips so it slides down, and then snap it in. The first time you snap it in, the motor will automatically wind for about 20 seconds to put the film at the first exposure, and it'll set the picture's remaining counter then to 10. On the right side, there's nothing. And on the left side, we have this nice leather strap. Now, I should also mention that the camera case is fairly high quality leather. And you'll notice that it has this nice green velour interior, or velvet. And finally, on the camera bottom, we have a serial number, and this is a removable cartridge that has the battery in it. And I've taken the 2 screws out and removed it, but I didn't want to go any further into it than that. Then there's the AC plug for charging it. It's a NiCad battery. It probably might work. NiCad batteries don't tend to go bad by themselves. It wouldn't surprise me if the NiCad works. The problem is, inside the camera someplace, there's a large capacitor to fire the flash, and if you've ever worked on old radios, you don't want to power up an old radio with an old capacitor, because there's a real good chance it's going to blow up. So I'm not going to do that. So that's it, guys. Beautiful little piece of history, but a large, big, heavy plastic piece of junk. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.